Hello everybody, here's Thursday's maths lesson. On screen you can see the start task, so you will need your pencil and paper for this, and you will need to set up this column method grid on your piece of paper. You don't need to draw the boxes, but basically all you need to do is to use the digits 1 to 9, so once each. You need to pop them into position and see if you can make it work. So what I mean is you might, for example, put 1, 2 and 3 up there, 4, 5 and 6 there. And do you get 7, 8, 9 at the bottom? 3 and 6 is 9, 2 and 5 is not 8, 1 and 4 is not 7, so that wouldn't work. Okay, so this might take a little bit of time. You might just try out a few different possibilities, and maybe as you try you might work out a system. Okay, pause the video, have a go. I'm sure you'll be able to manage this. Okay, I'm now going to go through the answer. Well, the answer that I found. So I had a little shuffle around with the numbers, and I put the numbers in place on my board, and then I just shuffled a few of them round to make it work. So I've got 392 add 184 equals 576. So to check it, I've got 2 add 4 equals 6. 9 add 8 equals 17, so that'd be a 7. And I do a little 1 here to carry the 1. 3 add 1 is 4. Add the 1 that I've carried, so I've got 5. Let me know if you find a different solution. On this screen there are a few different strategies that you might have thought about. So you could have maybe added up all of the digits, all of the 1 to 9 digits, and then sort of come up with a system using that number. You may have thought about carrying. I thought about carrying and worked out where would be the best place to do that. So let me know how you got on. Now yesterday you had a go at percentage ratio tables. Now I've not put, this is the same as what you were doing yesterday, but I've not put it in a table because I had a few messages yesterday saying that you couldn't complete the task because you couldn't draw the table. Okay, for this task you don't need to draw a table, you can just write it like this with equals, with an equals symbol in between, and it's just like a list really. You don't need to draw a table. So on this side you can see an example of a question that I have completed. So the whole amount is 960. I found 10% by dividing by 10, so I've got 96. I found 50% by dividing by 2. And I found 1% by dividing by 100. And then I worked out 5% and 25% using the facts that I'd already got. And then I worked out these questions by using the information that I'd written up here. Okay, so just as a little recap, I would like you to complete this side of the screen. So I'd like you to look at the number 680. So I'd like you to fill in 10%, 5%, 50%, 25% and 1%. Once you've done that, I would like you to use the information up here to work out the answers to these 3 questions. Pause the video and have a go. Okay, I'm now going to go through the answer, so press pause if you're still working. So here is my information at the top. Do you agree with me? Let me know. And then down here, I've shown my workings on how I worked out my answers, but you may have done it a different way, because that's the nice thing about percentages. There are different ways to get to the answer. So mark your work and let me know if I've made a mistake, or let me know how you got to your answer. Let's carry on. So we've had, quite a few goes at doing these ratio tables. So now I'd like you to fill in the missing numbers in these problems. So what percent of 54 is 5.4? So definitely look at the place value there. Try and work that one out. What percent of 170 is 85? So think about how 85 links to 170, and that will help. 14 is what percent of 1400? Okay, I'd like you to pause the video and have a go, and if you're stuck I'm going to reveal a little bit of help on the next page which might help you to get to the answer. Okay, have a go. Right, I'm now going to show the little bit of help, which might help you to get the answer if you haven't already. So I worked out like what you multiply 5.4 by to get to 54. So I know that 5.4 times 10 is 54. I know that 14 multiplied by 100 is 1,400. And I know that 85 multiplied by 2 is 170. So if you haven't already got the answers, these multiplication sentences might help you. Because think about the 10, think about the 100, might help you. So pause the video and see if you can work it out now. Okay, I'm going to put the answers on screen. So 10% of 54 is 5.4, 50% of 170 is 85, and 1% of 1,400 is 14. Okay, when I saw multiply by 100, I knew it had to be 1 because I know that there are 100 parts in the whole when we talk about percentages. Okay, so let me know how you got on afterwards. Now I've got a few word problems for you to have a go at. So I'll read the first problem out to you, and then you can read the other two yourself. You'll need to press pause and you'll need to do some workings on your piece of paper. You might want to do the ratio table method, so like this. Or you might find that you don't need to do all of these workings, but you might just write a few of them down. Let's get back to the page. Where were we? Here we go. So we set the target of raising £200 for our class charity. So far we have raised 10% of the money. How much have we raised? So for that question, you're going to need to work out what 10% of £200 is to work out how much has been raised. I'm sure you can do that. Pause the video and complete the 3 questions. Right, I'm now going to go through the answers. So 10% I divide by 10, so I've got £20. 50% I'm halving, so I've got 22,500 tickets. And 1% I divide by 100, so I've got 3 butterflies. Now this one, so we've got a problem where there are lots of different solutions. Find different ways to complete the following statements. And what do you notice about the relationship between each pair of numbers? So you might need to read this twice, okay, to get your head around it. So 10% of something is equal to 50% of something. 1% of something is equal to 10% of something. Now I'd like to pause the video and just read that again to yourself and think about it and maybe see if you can have a go. If you'd like me to reveal one solution that I found, just to help you to understand it a little bit better, then I'm going to move this blue square in a moment, and that might help you to understand. So there are many different ways of completing this, so the one that I reveal isn't the only option, and you will need to spot the patterns and relationships yourself. Okay, so pause the video, have a think for yourself first, and then I'll reveal my solution. Okay, so I'm going to show you mine. So I've chosen to put 10% of 100 is equal to 50% of 20. Okay, so 10% of 100 is 10, and 50% of 20 is 10. So I know that this works because I've got 10 on each side, and the equal symbol means that both sides will balance, they're the same. Now, I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to go through the patterns actually. I'd like you to send me your ideas about the patterns and relationships. So I chose to put down here, I've got 1% of 100 is 1, and 10% of 10 is 1. Okay, so I know they work because both sides have 1. So I'd like you to find, say, at least 5 or 6 different ways of completing these calculations, and I'd like you to write down what you notice about the relationships, okay? So pause the video and complete the task. Right, let's move on. Class 6 are doing a sponsored silence for the whole of the 6-hour school day. So far, they are 10% of the way through. How long is left? So in a moment, I'd like to pause the video, read it again to yourself, see if you can work out the answer yourself, and I am going to go through this problem step by step. So if you need a little bit of help, then you can press play and I'm going to go through it and guide you. The only clue I'm going to say is when it says 6 hours in the school day, I would think about how many minutes 6 hours is worth. So pause the video, have a go. Right, I'm now going to go through this step by step. So if you need some help, you can do it with me. So first of all, write down how many minutes there are in 6 hours. Okay, think about it, count up in your multiples. Right, I'm going to reveal this part. So I did 6 lots of 60 because there are 60 minutes in an hour, and I've got 360 minutes. Did you get the same? Then work out 10% of your 360 minutes because that's how much they've done so far. So remember, to find 10%, you need to divide by 10. So do that for me. Okay, so it's revealed. So I did 10% of 360 is 36 minutes. So far, they must have completed 36 minutes. So if this was a test, you'd have probably got 1 or 2 marks for getting to that point. Now, what are you going to do to work out how long is left? Okay, you're going to do the full total. So you're going to do 360 minutes, take away your 36 minutes. So you've got 324 minutes left. I wonder if you got the answer, or maybe you've converted that to hours and minutes. Okay, if you think about it, 60 minutes in an hour, so if we count up 60, 120, 180, 240, 300. So 5 hours and 24 minutes left. Have I got it right, or have I made a mistake? Let me know afterwards on Teams. Okay, so as I said earlier, with percentages, it's good because there are different ways of getting the answer. So there'll only ever be one answer, one correct answer, but it's nice that you can get to the right answer choosing your own method. So for this question, you can see on screen it says that 100% is equal to 420 kilometres. So that's the full journey. Half of the journey, so 50%, is 210 kilometres. Now, I would like you to think about 2 different ways to finding the 25% answer. Okay, so write down 2 different methods. So they should both end up with the same answer, but I'd like you to show me 2 different ways to get there. Okay, pause the video, see if you can do that. Right, so my way of doing this for this question, which I think is the easiest way, would just be to halve the 50%, because I know that 25 is half of 50. So I would have got 105. Okay, so I'd have done 50% divided by 2, 105 kilometres. Now, that's the easiest way in this problem, but sometimes it might be easier to do it a different way. It depends on your numbers. So the other way that I've written down, I know that 25% is the same as a quarter. Okay, so you could have done 420 divided by 4, then multiply by 1, but that will leave you with the same answer. So you could have just divided by 4. So it's up to you. Sometimes that might be easier, but sometimes it's good to understand there are different ways to getting to the answer. So the same with 75%. So on screen here, you can see there might even be more, but there's 3 ways on screen of getting 75%. So to find 75% of a number, you might choose to add up the 50% and 25% together. You could choose to multiply the 25% number by 3, because if you count in 25, so you go 25, 50, 75, okay, 3 lots of 25 make 75, so you could have done it that way. Or what's this one down here? So they've done 420, take away 105. Why have they done that? Okay, so what they've done is they know that the whole, so 100% is 420, and they know that to get to 75, you just take away 25. So they've got the whole amount, and they've just taken away 25% to get the answer. Okay, so 3 different ways here. Which one would you choose? Right. On screen, you can see the ratio table has been completed. So we're talking about the number 64 this time. I would like you to write down 2 different ways to work out the answer to 45% of 64. So remember, both of your answers should be the same. So if you get different answers, you're going to need to check them to work out where you've gone wrong. So 2 different ways to get to the answer, please. Pause the video and have a go. Right, let's go through. So these are my 2 ways. It's not moving, hang on. Right, so method 1, I have chosen to do 50%, take away 5%, and I got 28.8. Did you get that one? Then my other method, I chose to do 4 lots of 10%, add 5%, and obviously I got the same answer. Did you choose the same as me, or did you get a different answer? Right, now it's your turn to complete this process. So we're looking at the number 800 this time. So I would like you, when I say fill in the ratio table, you don't have to do a table. You can just write it down like a little list. So 50% equals, and so on. So first of all, write down 50%, 10%, 20%, and 1%. And when you've got your information over here, I want at least 2 different ways to work out 69% of 800. And remember that every time you do a method, you should get the same answer. So if you get different answers, you need to check where you can find out what's gone wrong. When I reveal the answer, I'm going to reveal 3 different ways. See how many you can find. And think about which one you prefer for this question. Pause the video and have a go. Right, let me show you. Method 1. So you could have, hang on, let me reveal the other information as well. So you could have done 50%, add 20%, so that would get you to 70%, take away 1%. And I've got 552. Did you choose that way? You could have done 7 lots of 10%, take away 1%, and again, 552. Or you could have done 69 lots of 8. So that means they've just done 69 lots of 1%. Which one of these methods do you think is easiest? And have you found any different ways of working out the answer? Okay, let's move on. Let's have a look. How long have we been going? We might just do one more. Let's have a look. Right. This is the final problem we'll do for today, and we'll save the other problems for tomorrow. So, true or false style. So, are the following statements true or false, and why? And the challenge is to not work out the answer. So I don't want you to sit there and work out 25% of 379. I want you to use your knowledge of percentages and fractions. And I want you to just sit there and just think. So the question is this true or false? So they've said that 25% of 379 is a bit less than 100. Okay, so we're not looking for the exact answer. Just thinking, is that true or is it false? Then we've got 90% of 520 is around the 400 mark. And the final one, 45% of 210 is more than 105. Okay, so think about your key percentage facts and just see if you can reason without working out the exact answers. If you're really unsure, I will go through the bottom one now and I'll explain my reasoning and then you might be able to do the other ones. Okay, so I'm thinking that 45% of 210 is not going to be more than 105, and I think that's false. Because I know that 50% of 210 is 105. And if 50% is 105, 40% is lower. So I'm thinking it's got to be less. It's got to be less than halfway because you haven't got that much. That's my reasoning for that problem. 45% is less than half. So you'll definitely have less than 105. See if you can do the other two. Pause the video and have a go. Right, I'm going to reveal the answers. Okay, so I have chosen to put, well, for the first one, I wrote down that a quarter of 400 is 100. Okay, I know that. I know that 25% is the same as a quarter. So I agree that the first one must be true, because 379 is a bit less than 400. So if a quarter of 400 is 100, then this answer is going to be a bit less, so that's true. 90% of 520, well, you may have said true or false, depending on how close you want it to be. I'd probably say false, in my opinion, because I know that 10% of 520 is 52. So it's going to be around the 450 mark if I want to be a bit more accurate, okay? And as I said before, the bottom one, half of 210 is 105, so I know it's going to actually be less than halfway. Well done for getting this far. I hope you're enjoying percentages. It's one of my favourite things to do. I really like working out percentages. And tomorrow we've got more problem solving, and we're starting off tomorrow with this one, nice big word problem, and we've got other bits and bobs to do. So please share your work with me. Thanks for joining in.